Hello. Today, we're going to be ranking every vanilla race in Kenshi from worst to best, including the ones that you can't pick at the game start. These rankings will be based off both health and stats and their EXP rates. So health and stats include their movement speed, their health, their hunger rate, heal rate, all that good stuff. And the EXP rates will include both the positive and negatives, as I feel like the negatives do contribute to the other strengths that the races have for balancing. And although the positives don't matter too much in terms of what you can do with a character, it helps you get a quicker start than the other races that you could choose, right? So starting at the bottom of the ranking is the Southern Hive Prince and the Normal Hive Prince. Now I'm kind of grouping these guys together as the only difference is that the Southern Hive Prince doesn't have Perception and Lockpicking EXP bonuses, but they do have a slightly lower bleed rate, so that does give them a bit more oomph, but nonetheless, I'd say the Southern Hive Prince by far is the worst race in the game. They do have acid immunity, and they can eat raw meat, but they don't get the foul meat buff that the other two Hive races get, so that actually does knock them down even more. I love the Bugmen, they're probably my favorite, and I'd actually say Hive Prince is probably my favorite sub-race of them, so it kind of makes me sad that I have to put them this low, but they are by stats, by just general viability, the worst race in the game, unfortunately. But I am basing it off everything that they have, right? It's not just off of how fun they are to play, but rather what they have at the beginning of the game. And overall, it just makes me sad to talk about them. My favorite race, worst race in the game. Let's just move on to the next one. It's the Southern Hive Worker and the Standard Hive Worker. Now, it's kind of a similar situation as to the Hive Prince, where the South Hive version doesn't get the Toughness EXP bonus, which puts them down a little bit. And I will say, if you're looking for someone to just help you build a base, this guy's probably much better for you. But for me, I don't really base build that much. I kind of focus on more roaming around the world, doing my own thing, you know? And so unfortunately, this Bugman's also getting ranked pretty low because of that. But I could see someone saying that they're, you know, a little bit higher up on the list, but for me, they're not. One thing that they do have, which is actually pretty nice though, is that their head actually heals faster. Because healing is based on percentage health, and because their head is the highest health, heals faster than the rest of their body parts, which is good because they actually can't wear that great helmets. They miss out on crab armor helmets, which does kind of suck. But at the end of the day, you can just wear samurai armor, so who really cares, right? Other than that though, there's nothing really too notable about the Southern Hive Worker and the Hive Worker, other than that they have one of the highest base run speeds in the game, tied with someone else. And overall, they're just kind of Now next up, which might be surprising, I'd actually say the Greenlander. The Greenlander's not bad. Most of the races aren't unviable, right? But to me, the Greenlander's just so basic that they don't really have any reason to be picked other than just wanting someone. I will say one great thing about them is that when you get them, you can kind of just do whatever you want with them, right? But they're so average across the board that almost in every situation, you could just get someone else. You want someone for combat? Get a Shek or a Soldier Drone. You want someone who's fast in combat? Get a Scorchlander. I know that kind of fits combat again, but still. Want a base builder? Work a drone. Which is the only thing that Greenlanders are good for, by the way. So even at the thing that they kind of specialize in, they're still outmatched. But at the end of the day, most of the time you could just hire someone else. And the only benefit they have, I guess, that they can walk through the Holy Nation territory, which is kind of nice, but the Holy Nation doesn't really have a lot going on other than base building for me personally. So that's where they're ranking. And now we've got the Scorchlander, which is another human, but I think they're more interesting than the Greenlander. They kind of specialize in combat, but more importantly is they have smithing EXP rates, which is one of the only two races to have this. They also have lower bleed rate and hunger rate, which is nice, and a faster heal rate. So when they get injured, they'll come back way quicker than the other races. Well, I say way quicker, it's like 10%. Just like the Worker Drone, actually. They have the highest base movement speed in the game, which is great. Unfortunately, they just go to average in the late game, but having that high run speed at the beginning of the game is really nice to have. Also, weirdly enough, they can eat raw meat, which generally is kind of pointless, but I guess if you're starving and you really need to eat something, it could save your life before you go unconscious. Overall, I'd say Scorchlander is pretty good. It depends on what you kind of need. It's not always what you need. That's why they're ranked where they are. Now, according to the wiki, you can get P4s in your group in vanilla gameplay, so that's why they're ranked here. For the most part, they're basically just kind of smiths, but they do have good hit points, and they get a 3x heal rate, which, looking at the wiki, it says that normal skeletons have a 2x heal rate, so that kind of makes these guys a bit more special. But as you can tell, these guys still aren't ranked higher than the standard skeletons. And the reason they're actually below the skeletons is because they're less combat oriented. They have like 200 everywhere except the head, which is one of the most important places to have health with skeletons. Everything else is as good pretty much. And yeah, their skills are just more oriented to smithing. Being one of the only two races, the Scorchlander being the other one, having this dude just as your scientist weaponsmith is honestly good enough. And he can do some engineering on the side if you want it as well. So they have some nice base building stuff, which I know I don't care about. I'd just recruit a Scorchlander. I don't even know how to get these guys, but I'm going off the wiki. The wiki says you can hire these guys. Well, not hire them. You can find them in prison cages or something. And next up is the Shek. Now, this is a bit biased. I'm not really a fan of the Shek, but I will say they are great warriors. Almost. So everyone knows their XP rates is attack, strength, and toughness, which grants them a lot of ability to become really strong. And they're just useless at everything else, right? So you just kind of get them as soldiers. They have really high health and they can equip everywhere. So they have high health and can equip everywhere, which is very rare. They're the only ones who can really do that in vanilla. But they have a lot of drawbacks. They have the highest hunger rate in the game, which puts me off because I hate dealing with food. They have a lower bleed rate, which is nice, but it's instantly counteracted with the slowest heal rate in the game. They heal 20% slower than anything else in the game. They're good warriors, but because of that heal rate, it really puts me off playing them. I hate waiting for people to heal, so that's why they're ranked a bit lower. I could see people ranking these guys in the top 5, but I can't do it. They're just too annoying. Hunger rate, heal rate. It can only be soldiers, which is fine, but I usually only get 1 or 2 of these guys and then call it a day. So that's why they're ranked here. And now on to the next one is the Hive Soldier Drone. Another warrior class, but I think it's better than the Shek in my opinion, so hear me out. So they have the same melee attack and toughness XP rate, but they lose out on the strength XP rate, unfortunately. They also have a bunch of malices to a bunch of random skills, which for the most part doesn't matter because you'll probably just have these guys as soldiers. And honestly, a lot of these skills that they have negatives in are a lot better to have. Now, unlike the Shek, these guys actually have a heal rate of 1, have a lower bleed rate, which is really great, and overall I think they're just a better choice if you're going for a warrior. Now, the one malice is that they can't wear a helmet, which does suck. However, I think that's balanced by the fact that their head has 200 hit points, so if you ever really get into a tough situation with your head, that's just pretty unfortunate for you. I haven't actually ranked the Southern Hive variant yet because I think they're a lot higher. I think this is a fair ranking for the Hive Soldier Drone as one of the better warrior races that you can pick in your Kenshi playthroughs. Now, these next 2, you kind of interchange them in my opinion, but I think I've come to the decision. Now, the Skeleton's pretty much just like the P4 unit without the armor smithing, but it has a heavy weapons bonus, a robotics bonus, which is basically like having first aid bonus, and turrets. These are all great skills to have as a bonus, and its negative EXP rates are dodge, stealth, and thievery. Dodge and thievery are kind of whatever. I wish they weren't there, but yeah. But stealth is the easiest skill to level up in the game. If you're going to have a negative malice to a skill, stealth is the one you want it for because it will take like an extra minute to get to 100. But overall, they're exactly the same as basically the P4 unit. They have 200 health everywhere, including the head. They have a heal rate of 2 times, supposedly. I'm not sure how true that is. And all skeletons actually have a 0 hunger rate, so you don't have to feed them, but they are pretty expensive to kind of run. The Holy Nation is kill on sight, so you got to be careful of that, but other than that, they're pretty fucking good. Having a skill bonus, they're one of the best weapons in the game. I also forgot to mention, they have acid immunity everywhere. They have gas immunity, they have acid immunity, burn immunity. Pretty sure they have dust storm immunity, but overall, they're just great, and that's why they're here. Now, originally I wasn't actually going to rank the Southern Hive variants because I thought they were identical to their Western brethren. And then I saw the fucking Soldier Drone. The Soldier Drone is just a little bit better than their Western counterpart. Now, these guys are really hard to get in vanilla. You can only get them in slave cages. Well, yeah, that's actually it. You can only get them in slave cages. However, you can't get them in slave cages from the Southern Hive. You have to get them from natural spawns in the Drifter faction, or just spawning in naturally. And that's because of some AI package thing to do with the Southern Hive being warriors and they won't fucking join anyone. So you're not gonna get one of these guys. But if you were able to, just by RNG, you could also just go crossbows because you don't have that perception malice anymore. Although I feel like that's a waste of their potential, but martial arts with crossbow. Overall, I think these guys are the best warrior race in the game, and that's why they're ranked here. They fit their specialization amazingly. And one thing I didn't mention is that they have a max of 20% gas protection because they can't wear helmets. So I will say if you're living in a bit of a gassy region, these are not the guys you want to probably get. Nonetheless, I think these guys do fit a nice second place. Another skeleton, the Soldier Bot. Now, I'm not sure if you can get anyone other than Agnew, which is a unique recruit, but that's honestly fine because this is the best skeleton race you can get in the base game. Now, these guys actually don't have a lot going for them, so you'd think that I'd rank them a lot lower, but I think they have a lot of versatility. And listen, I'm not being a hypocrite. I know what I said about the Greenlander, but it's different with a skeleton. Skeletons heal fast and they don't eat. So in terms of combat, having that versatility means they can train up really fast. And if you're not doing that and you're having them as a base boy, they have perception for turrets, and if you want to fucking put them on like farming or something for some reason. They don't have to eat, so they can just constantly work. And that means they can constantly level. And it's just so fucking good. Now, it has a perception EXP bonus, so these guys will make great archers. And they also have the 3 heal rate that the other guys have. Other than that though, it's pretty much the exact same as the other skeletons, except these guys have really good negative skills. They have the dodge and thievery, which does suck, but as a skeleton, you don't need field medic. And again, stealth is the easiest skill to level up in the game, so who cares that you fucking got stealth negative EXP rate. Would you rank this list differently? Maybe you'd put Greenlander all the way at the top. Maybe you'd put the Hive Soldier Drone at the bottom. Maybe skeletons don't even deserve to be on the list. I don't know, bro. But either way, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed the video, a like would be appreciated. And if you want to see more, maybe consider subscribing. But other than that, that's the tier list. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.